With summer in full swing, we're in my favorite season of all, margarita season. I love a classic, refreshing margarita on a hot summer's day to enjoy at barbecues, picnics, and on weekend getaways. For the perfect marg, I use Jose Cuervo, the world's #1 tequila brand. A big thank you to Jose Cuervo for continuing to support the pod and helping us produce content for all of you. Time to embrace margarita season with Jose Cuervo, and remember to drink responsibly. On August 6th, 2024, Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively arrived at the New York City premiere of their new film, It Ends With Us. The two had co-starred in the highly anticipated film based on the best-selling novel by Colleen Hoover. Following the premiere through social media updates at home, fans noticed that the vibes felt a bit off amongst the cast on the red carpet. Aside from some obviously bizarre elements to the premiere, like the shameless plugging of Blake Lively's new hair care line and the confusing cross-promotion of It Ends With Us with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman's film, Deadpool and Wolverine, one particular thing from the New York City premiere stood out to fans far more than the rest. Justin Baldoni, the leading man and director of the film, was not photographed with anyone on the cast, crew, or production at the film's premiere, including Colleen Hoover herself. Within hours, TikTok, Reddit, and Instagram were alight with rumors about what might have happened on set to lead to such a divide. And after poring over red carpet sound bites from the premiere, fans landed on one main theory. Blake Lively had co-opted the film and its premiere for her own selfish ambition, and Justin Baldoni was ousted by the entire cast, crew, and production in the process. This narrative, established through internet sleuthing and speculation, led to a fierce online harassment campaign against Blake Lively that consumed the tabloids and our social media feeds for weeks on end. But the story doesn't stop there. 5 months later, Blake Lively and her team dropped a bombshell lawsuit alleging that this online harassment was orchestrated and executed by none other than Justin Baldoni and his team in an effort to destroy her reputation. This is a breakdown of Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni, from the fiery legal battle over their behavior on set to how we as internet users took the bait once again to help smear the name of a woman we find unlikable. From Centennial World, I'm Lauren Meisner, and this is Infinite Scroll, a podcast about internet culture, the creator economy, and how social media is shaping Gen Z. Welcome back to Infinite Scroll, everyone. Happy 2025. So exciting to be sitting here again, bringing you guys some deep dives into the biggest topics on the internet and just like getting in the nitty-gritty of it, you know? Okay, so before I get into this particular topic, I did want to say, in terms of, I guess, my opinion on it, because I don't share a lot of opinion in this particular episode. The reason being, I don't really know if I have an opinion on this topic. I don't feel like I am Team Blake, Team Justin. I feel like the truth, as you know, so many things in life, is somewhere in the middle. I also don't know if we as, you know, fans, followers, internet users will ever fully get the full picture of what happened on set and what really happened between them. I think presumably this will probably settle out of court, and this will just kind of go down in what I think to be internet history as one of the biggest quote unquote smear campaigns. And I know that this particular topic is incredibly divisive, so please just listen with open ears, an open heart, an open mind, because I am not trying to insert opinion on one side or another. This particular episode, what I really wanted to do here was dive into the lawsuits on both sides so we have the full picture, and then wanted to talk about kind of how I think the internet has normalized participating in these smear campaigns, and why, if there was really an orchestrated smear campaign around Blake Lively by the publicists and everyone who's around Justin Baldoni, if that is the truth, then kind of how we as audience members, internet users, were able to get caught up in that, and they were able to, like, quote unquote play us. Can you tell that I am nervous to put this episode out? I just feel like this topic is so heated right now. And so I did just want to let you guys know, no matter how you feel about this episode, just know I don't really have an opinion, and I'm not trying to push any type of opinion on anyone in this case. I'm trying to do this topic justice. I'm trying to share both sides of the story, essentially, what both parties are saying, and then bringing it back to obviously what we cover here, which is essentially internet culture, how pop culture and the internet intersect, and how that is really shaping society and how we interact with each other online, and also how that kind of bleeds into everyday life. So as always, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. We did hit 500 Spotify reviews on December 31st. It was so exciting. I was finally, that was my goal, to end the year on 500, so we did. So now we have to get to 1,000. So please Spotify rate us, or just leave us an Apple review, or subscribe on YouTube. Just keep it going. Please follow me on Instagram at @LaurenMeisner_, and sign up to our newsletter, which is called Infinite Scroll. On Fridays, we round up the 5 biggest think pieces on the internet from that week. From dating exposés on TikTok to blind items and story times, much of the digital world is flooded with negative commentary about public figures, some of which is fact and some fiction. As social media users become accustomed to this kind of content, smear campaigns seem increasingly commonplace. Before I get into how smear campaigns are being operationalized in the digital space, a brief caveat is in order. What is a smear campaign? How are they typically used? And what do those behind the smear campaign actually gain? According to watchdog organization Civil Liberties Union for Europe, a smear campaign is, quote, an attempt by powerful figures to undermine someone's credibility and reputation. Such campaigns can be circulated in various ways, but at the core, a smear campaign involves sharing false or misleading information that does not put forth a substantive critique of a public figure. Instead, it is a personal attack on the victim, aiming to misrepresent what they do and/or stand for. Those behind a smear campaign have a lot to gain. That is, until they are found out by the public. Not to veer into conspiratorial territory, but these campaigns may be used to divert public attention away from another person or issue that is playing out simultaneously. In a similar vein, sharing propaganda that seeks to undermine someone's character or work may be part of a ploy to elevate another person in the same industry. While it can be challenging to recognize a smear campaign in today's digital space, especially when almost everything behind the scenes is hearsay, one internet culture event has become associated with such a campaign. And that, of course, is the infamous Bi Sister scandal. Bet you didn't think I was going to say that. We did a deep dive into the saga last year with a focus on beauty guru Tati Westbrook, so feel free to check that out if you want all the details. But for a brief refresher, it all started when Tati posted a video titled Bi Sister in May 2019, attempting to take down then 19-year-old James Charles. It was successful at first, with viewers unfollowing James in droves. When James responded to Tati with a video titled No More Lies, the narrative shifted within a matter of hours. After providing receipts that seemingly debunked many of Tati's claims, social media felt Tati's video was a smear campaign. The internet turned on Tati for going after a teenager while she was in her 30s without providing proof of her claims. As a result, James had regained public support. Now, a lot has unfolded in the 6 years since then, with James facing sexual misconduct and grooming allegations. But the intense exchange between James and Tati is still regarded as one of the most impactful smear campaigns of the past decade in internet culture. Historically, however, these crusades have been associated with politics, as opposed to pop culture. As Karen Tumulty notes for the Washington Post, smear campaigns go back as far as the early 1800s in the United States. She goes on to mention how the, quote, first contested presidential race in U.S. history saw pamphlets spreading misinformation around John Adams, many of which intended to undermine his legitimacy. Quote, "If the nature of these vile tactics is not new, their potency has reached a point never seen before. Part of that is the power of social media," she continues. The intensity of such tactics was evident during the 2008 U.S. presidential campaign, prompting Barack Obama's team to launch a website titled Fight the Smears to counter ongoing attempts to portray him as a dangerous radical. With increased political polarization and less stringent campaign ethics through the Trump years, smear campaigns have only accelerated. Ultimately, with negative campaigning coming to define U.S. political culture, it's not exactly a surprise that it would seep into Hollywood. Some of the most prolific smear campaigns in pop culture actually took place in the 1950s, when a host of actors and actresses were blacklisted from Hollywood during the, quote, Red Scare. For those unfamiliar with the Red Scare, it was a period of widespread moral panic over the perceived rise and, quote-unquote, threat of left-leaning ideologies, particularly communism and socialism. While this fear spanned several decades, the 1950s were especially intense, coinciding with the early days of the Cold War. During this time, anti-communist sentiment led to the targeting and undermining of celebrities and industry professionals suspected of communist sympathies. Notably, the Hollywood 10, a group of screenwriters, actors, and directors, were blacklisted and banned from working due to their alleged ties to the American Communist Party. Many members faced fines and served federal prison sentences. Leading this charge was the House Un-American Activities Committee in the United States Congress, whose actions actress Katharine Hepburn likened to a smear campaign. Quote, "The artist, since the beginning of time, has always expressed the aspirations and dreams of his people," she said in a speech in May 1947. "Silence the artist, and you have silenced the most articulate voice the people have." While this example is definitely telling, it's clear that the nature of this campaign is of its time. Unlike these government-led efforts, today's Hollywood smear campaigns tend to be orchestrated by individuals in positions of power, particularly when their reputations are at stake. A prominent example of this is Harvey Weinstein, who, when faced with sexual harassment and assault allegations, reportedly launched smear campaigns against actresses who spoke out against him, including Ashley Judd and Mira Sorvino. Since then, directors like Peter Jackson have revealed that they avoided casting certain actresses based on Weinstein's influence and advice. Despite the rise of social media and the unprecedented access it offers to celebrities and the Hollywood PR machine, both the industry and consumers remain susceptible to smear campaigns. The recent developments involving Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni have pushed this issue into the spotlight, inspiring this episode's deep dive into the phenomenon of smear campaigns. But before we get into that, let's take a moment to recap the current situation between Blake and Justin. For those who haven't kept up with everything unfolding between the two, Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni co-starred in It Ends With Us, a film adaptation of the popular book talk novel by Colleen Hoover. In addition to his role in the film, Justin Baldoni directed the project. When the movie was released in August, speculation about tension within the cast began to surface online. This was fueled by the noticeable absence of any photos of Justin with the cast or Colleen Hoover at the premiere. Additionally, Justin appeared to participate in very few interviews alongside his co-stars. This perceived divide led to various theories circulating online, many of which were unfavorable toward Blake Lively. One prominent theory suggested that Blake Lively and her husband Ryan Reynolds had taken control of the marketing strategy for their personal gain. Some speculated that they were attempting to position It Ends With Us as Blake's Oscar moment by creating buzz. Supporters of this theory pointed to two key factors. Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman accompanied Blake Lively on the red carpet to promote Deadpool and Wolverine, and Blake seemingly used the premiere to promote her new hair care line. Another theory suggested disagreements over how to promote the film. It Ends With Us portrays heavy themes like domestic violence and emotional abuse. Many consumers were upset with Blake's approach, which appeared to emulate the Barbie movie's marketing strategy. A viral quote attributed to Blake encouraged audiences to
grab your friends, wear your florals, and head out to see it,
which seemed out of step with the film's serious subject matter. In contrast, Justin Baldoni appeared to focus on raising awareness about domestic violence, which resonated more with audiences. This disparity in promotional strategies left many siding with Justin, believing that Blake wasn't treating the film's themes with the gravity that they deserved. Ever since then, Blake has fallen out of public favor and has somewhat retreated from the public eye. That is, until the end of December 2024, when the news broke that Blake was suing Justin Baldoni for allegations of sexual harassment and what Blake and her team claim was a concerted effort to destroy her reputation. TMZ and the New York Times were some of the first media outlets to report the news. The complaint outlines several serious allegations, including sexual harassment, retaliation, breach of contract, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and interference with prospective economic advantage, among other claims. It was filed to the California Civil Rights Department and is the step taken before a lawsuit. The core of the allegations is that Blake Lively raised concerns about inappropriate behavior and sexual assault on the movie set to Wayfarer Studios LLC, which was also founded by Justin Baldoni. According to the legal complaint, Blake had voiced concerns about Justin from the outset. Prior to filming, for example, she objected to the inclusion of sex scenes that she deemed gratuitous, which he had proposed. In November 2023, as the cast of It Ends With Us prepared to resume production following the writer's strike, the parties agreed in writing to implement a list of protections to improve the on-set experience. Later, in an all-hands meeting with Justin Baldoni and other producers in January 2024, Blake expanded on her concerns, as outlined in the legal filing. She alleged that Justin had engaged in unwanted improvised kissing and openly discussed his sex life, including encounters where he admitted that consent may not have been clearly given. Despite this meeting, the complaint claims that these concerns were not adequately addressed by the studio. Additionally, the document alleges that Justin Baldoni and his associates launched a social media and crisis PR campaign to discredit Blake Lively, aiming to undermine her credibility should the HR issues become public. For instance, the cast was reportedly instructed to follow a marketing plan from the film's distributor, Sony, which directed them to, quote, focus more on Lily's strength and resilience as opposed to describing the film as a story about domestic violence, and to, quote, avoid talking about this film that makes it feel sad or heavy. It's a story of hope, the complaint reads. The document states that Justin Baldoni deviated from the marketing plan to distract from the fact that many cast and crew members unfollowed him on social media and avoided public appearances with him. Quote, to that end, he and his team used domestic violence survivor content to protect his public image, the document continues. This narrative fits with Justin's public persona, given that he has presented himself as an ally to women and in opposition to toxic masculinity, co-hosting the Man Enough podcast. However, with such motivations and ulterior motives, if these claims are all true, Justin's actions would likely fit into the definition of a smear campaign. According to the document, publicist Jennifer Abel recommended hiring crisis communications specialist Melissa Nathan and the agency group PR LLC. Nathan later issued a proposal that included a, quote, full social account takedown, seeking to engage with audiences in the quote-unquote right way. Through planting pieces in the media and monitoring online fan interaction, an agenda was seemingly in place. Nevertheless, it is worth noting that it remains unclear how much of the negative publicity was seeded by Justin and his PR team versus how much they noticed and amplified it. Quote, that plan was backed by virtually unlimited resources. Wayfair's co-founder, co-chairman, and leading financier is multi-billionaire Steve Sarowitz, who divulged at the film's New York premiere on August 6, 2024, that he was prepared to spend $100 million to ruin the lives of Miss Lively and her family, the complaint alleges. On top of this, the document also included screenshots of text messages purportedly evidencing the campaign against Blake, some of which included crisis PR planning simulations and others celebrating the damage to Blake's image through the press tour. It is worth adding that some of the messages included Justin, where others were among the PR team. Quote, Mr. Baldoni wants to feel like Miss Lively can be buried. Miss Abel and Miss Nathan agreed that, of course, they would do just that, but could not say so in writing. Quote, we can't write it down to him. We can't write, we will destroy her. Imagine if a document saying all of the things that he wants ends up in the wrong hands. Some text messages between the PR team read. While the complaint was filed Friday, December 20th, the story blew up when it was published by the New York Times and TMZ the following day. Justin was later dropped by his management, WME. The response has left consumers shocked. especially because the alleged smear campaign seemed to work, with much of the internet turning on Blake Lively during the film's press tour. In a statement to the media, Blake shared, quote, "I hope that my legal action helps pull back the curtain on these sinister retaliatory tactics to harm people who speak up about misconduct and helps protect others who may be targeted." After the story broke, Justin Baldoni, alongside members of Wayfarer Studios and the publicity team, have filed a lawsuit against the New York Times for $250 million for libel, false light invasion of privacy, promissory fraud, and break of implied-in-fact contract, and offers a rebuttal to the narrative laid out in the article. With this, Justin's legal team argued that the publication, quote, cherry-picked and altered communications, stripped of necessary context, and deliberately spliced to mislead. The document continues, quote, "The Times story relied almost entirely on Lively's unverified and self-serving narrative, lifting it nearly verbatim while disregarding an abundance of evidence that contradicted her claims and exposed her true motives." Among the claims include accusations that Blake fabricated, quote, "sexual harassment allegations to assert unilateral control over every aspect of the production." It also alleges that Ryan Reynolds berated Justin for, quote-unquote, fat-shaming Blake. The lawsuit goes on to refute several claims made by Blake's complaint. For instance, it challenges the allegation that Justin entered her trailer while she was breastfeeding and that he would improvise intimate scenes. According to the lawsuit, Blake allegedly invited Justin into her trailer and refused to meet with the intimacy coordinator. At the time of recording, Blake hasn't personally addressed the allegations against the New York Times. However, her lawyers did issue a statement, writing, quote, "Nothing in this lawsuit changes anything about the claims advanced by Miss Lively's California Civil Rights Department complaint, nor her federal complaint, filed earlier today." In response, the New York Times has stood by its reporting, defending its coverage and the integrity of its journalism. A spokesperson for the publication went on to say that, quote, "The role of an independent news organization is to follow the facts where they lead. Our story was meticulously and responsibly reported. It was based on a review of thousands of pages of original documents, including text messages and emails that we quote accurately and at length in the article." To date, Wayfarer Studios, Mr. Baldoni, and other subjects of the article and their representatives have not pointed to a single error. We published their full statement in response to the allegations in the article as well. We plan to vigorously defend against the lawsuit. Discerning the truth is challenging, as Blake and Justin remain in ongoing legal battles. And though we may never know what actually happened on the set of It Ends With Us, this situation highlights a key question. In the era of social media, where we claim to have unprecedented understanding of the Hollywood PR machine, how did we become susceptible to this alleged smear campaign? The reality is that social media has, in many ways, normalized the smear campaign. While there are likely several reasons for this, I wanted to explore one that I personally believe is often at the core of this issue as it pertains specifically to social media, which is the relentless pursuit by brands, celebrities, influencers, and everyday users to achieve the perfect gotcha moment that propels them to virality. If achieving that moment means targeting someone else or stifling their career, many seem willing to take that path, largely because of mob mentality in the digital space. Now, we've discussed this on the podcast before, but mob mentality fosters some of the most toxic corners of social media. This is partly because social media tends to spread content without context, making it easier for mob mentality or speculation to take root. But this is also driven by algorithms. Platforms like TikTok curate content to fit user preferences, creating information bubbles, where individuals are exposed primarily to opinions that mirror and reinforce their own beliefs. As Janine Croteau writes for Forbes, quote, "When mob mentality takes place on social media, a misspoken word or poorly developed thought can be shared like wildfire. Before long, it can feel like you're facing a firing squad." This makes launching a successful smear campaign alarmingly simple. This dynamic is heightened by the rise of armchair detective culture, where sleuthing and conspiracy theories have become commonplace across niches related to true crime, blind items, or celebrity gossip. As a result, the speculation that fuels smear campaigns feels increasingly normalized. It's obvious that this phenomenon is harmful to all internet users, but it is especially damaging to women. Our inherent misogyny as a society at large means that the pursuit of these viral gotcha moments are often at the expense of women, partly because we ourselves can't always identify our own misogynistic beliefs, and partly because we're more likely to achieve that desired virality through chastising a woman because of our inherent misogyny. See how it all comes full circle? Many women have come to fear public scrutiny or sharing their personal experiences, knowing that they are likely to be vilified by social media. We've seen this repeatedly, most notably in the case of Amber Heard. During her defamation trial with Johnny Depp, she was treated starkly different than he was. Social media, particularly TikTok, played a significant role in shaping the narrative, with clips from the trial going viral and posts favoring Depp overwhelmingly outnumbering those supporting Heard. As Caroline Framke wrote for Variety, quote, "Once the narrative of Heard bad, Depp good solidified, so too did the feverish rush to piece together the evidence in a way that would support it." This pattern is not new, nor is it confined to Heard's case. Meghan Markle, for instance, has faced similar treatment. But the pressure on women has only intensified on social media, with labels like Mean Girls and Not a Girl's Girl dominating the online space, further fueling hostility towards women. And while it is important to call out bad behavior online, the way information spreads in the digital space can lead to widespread misuse of such terms and general misinformation about public figures. Ultimately, this environment has created the perfect conditions for brands, once holding a neutral or even positive presence online, to jump on the bandwagon and inadvertently legitimize smear campaigns. The backlash against Hailey Bieber in 2022 serves as a prime example of how negative campaigning can spiral, intensified by both public sentiment and corporate engagement. For those who forgot, this all started after Selena Gomez posted a TikTok saying she wished that she looked like Bella Hadid in February of that year. In a text overlay of the video, the Rare Beauty founder wrote, quote, "I wish I was as pretty as Bella Hadid," and went on to say that her brows were accidentally over-laminated, indicating that her severe brow lamination resembled the model's signature highbrow line. Just hours later, Kylie Jenner posted a screenshot on Instagram stories of a FaceTime call with Hailey Bieber, where both women zoomed in on their eyebrows. Kylie provided no context for her story, but users were quick to jump on social media and accuse the stars of mocking Selena's eyebrows. Kylie went on to post a selfie on her Instagram stories, writing, "This was an accident," over her brushed up eyebrows. And it was later revealed that the initial picture was an Easter egg for a new mascara that Kylie Cosmetics was launching. As TikTokers began covering the alleged shade thrown Selena's way, Kylie denied the allegations. Many users were hesitant to believe her, saying that Kylie and Hailey have long made digs at Selena. As tensions escalated, a series of shady comments began to surface, alongside videos that fueled the controversy, some of which were created by brands. At the time that this was all going down, Justin Bieber's stan account at Sophia Rawls went viral on X for a thread documenting the brands that shaded Hailey. Amassing 6.1 million views in just 3 days, the thread made waves across the platform. She listed numerous brands that made snide comments about the drama, starting with a TikTok posted by Duolingo. Quote, "I'm not saying she deserves it, but God's timing is always right." The text read as Duolingo, the owl, points to an evidence board that included pictures and screenshots of Hailey and Selena over the years. Facetune was another prominent company among the brands featured in Sophia's thread. The photo editing app posted a TikTok on February 27, 2022, using the software's Vanish tool to remove Hailey from a photo with Selena. The TikTok was quickly deleted. While it is important to address hate campaigns and cyberbullying, we should question the lengths that these companies go to for views, especially when their actions contribute to public scrutiny and effectively become part of a greater smear campaign. Pop culture reporter Kat Tenbarge took to Twitter to share this view at the time, writing, quote, "The danger of social media marketing where brands take on personalities and comment on the latest trends is that these brands keep instigating and piling on harassment campaigns." Tenbarge went on to note how the brands, quote, predominantly targeted at women's insecurities have taken a malicious angle by using the Selena Haley drama to market their products, something she claimed was, quote, aimed at sowing division between women. For instance, while Amber Heard and Haley were being scrutinized online, the men in each scenario got off relatively scot-free. Justin, for instance, received far less criticism than his wife by internet users and brands alike. With social media making the Justin-Haley-Selena love triangle only about the women involved, this saga served as a sobering reminder of pop culture's fixation on female rivalry, with many of us eager to smear them. As brands pitted these women against each other, they stripped Selena and Haley of their accomplishments and goals, positioning them as superficial people who only exist to appeal to men. This ultimately creates an expectation that smearing women is not only acceptable, but inevitable. We see this expectation play out frequently in discussions online, with users expressing concern when women become too overexposed in the public eye, knowing it's only a matter of time before we tear them down. Now, I recognize that it's reductionist to assume the pursuit of virality is always the motivation behind why someone might post something online, but this theory feels increasingly plausible, especially now that TikTok has made virality so easily accessible and has enabled misinformation and disinformation to be so widely shared. This will likely only get worse as other major social media platforms like X and Meta scale back their fact-checking and moderation processes. Unfortunately, while we hope for this dynamic to change, one sad truth remains the same. Virality fuels smear campaigns, whether we realize it or not, offering a launch pad for some while leaving many others in its wake. And it is possible, despite her money, fame, and power in Hollywood, that Blake Lively was our latest victim. Infinite Scroll is a podcast produced, presented, and co-written by me, Lauren Meisner, for Centennial World. This episode was researched and written by Annabelle Ben-David. Editing is by Danny Fennick. Thank you so much for listening. I love you guys. I'm so excited to be back for 2025, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.